This edition of RVing in New England was a... Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
So hello, everybody. I'm here to save the day.
You certainly did, because I played it 3 times before I hit the remember to go live button. It's only been 1 week. So welcome to RVing in New England. Thanks for having me on your show, John.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, Bob. And the good news is the air conditioning is fixed.
Just like that?
Look it. We should tell our audience. Well, first of all, thank our audience for taking part of your Wednesday evening. We've got a great show lined up, but we always have some interesting stories to tell. And I was on a 9-day RV trip and came back and found the house to be a little bit warmer than usual, even after I set the automatic thermostat to get it down to 70 degrees. But we live in a condo, and we're having a lot of work done throughout the condo. And I specifically told the construction people that are putting our deck together, do not touch these air conditioning units because they're not what you should be touching, especially not electricians. So I come back, and the first thing I look at is, are those controls moved? They were moved. They were taken off, a piece of wood put on it and put it back, but they didn't connect them properly. But they're not electricians. They should have never even touched that. So it was 87 degrees in here this afternoon. Oh. And I was all set to check into my favorite Marriott hotel or go to my RV and sleep in there. But we got it fixed. And special hello to Walter Swenson, Jim Conway.
Yeah, we got
Jerry.
We got Jerry's first up tonight. Dante's up there in Windham, Maine. Jim Convoy's here. Walter Swenson's here. And Estelle Drew is here. She hasn't been here for a few weeks. So welcome, you guys. We're glad to have you.
By the way, Bob,
one thing I do want you to do this week. I know we always forget to say this, but please like and share this show. I think you're going to say after this show, it was one of our best shows in 7 years, because you're going to love Ron Seidel and Rose Therrien Seidel. They've got a great story to tell. And if you read the preview today, Ron and I had a business relationship. He worked for Minolta Corporation when I had my document imaging company, and was a great rep, and has since retired. And that's how we were together.
So did he bribe you to buy his product? And there was a trip involved, or new cars, Zagami, or maybe an RV?
Not even a new Minolta camera. I had to buy my own Minolta camera.
Oh, man.
But he wasn't our rep. He was the rep down in the Southeast. So our rep was George Morris. And George never gave me a Minolta camera either. So it's just part of the trade. But that's what you get for selling good products and good services.
But I miss the old days when you could be coerced into buying. Bribe, that's the word. Especially you, Zagami. You're from Somerville.
Yeah, that's right. I'm from Somerville, and we were bribed a lot.
Now, here's the thing. We have to be on our best behavior tonight, because we may have some corporate people that are watching us. So we can't be too folksy, and you shouldn't be drinking that alcohol on camera.
We can be our normal selves. We don't change for anybody.
I'm drinking water.
Well, that's good. That'll keep you cool. Why don't we bring our guest up?
Oh, wait, hold on one second. We got 2 people to say something to. We got to say hello to Greg Gerber, our friend, who's in Sun City, Arizona. His temp is 106. Zagami, did you hit 100 today?
We hit 100 today, and then the heat index was 113.
Okay, and Walter calls it influence, not bribes. But we should also say, as a public
servant, that's true. Well, let me say hello to Gerber, though. Greetings from Sun City, Arizona, where current temperature is 106. Well, why didn't you stay in Wisconsin? Why'd you go back to Arizona?
I was in Wisconsin, but Greg and I didn't make it at the same time.
Yeah.
I was only in I drove 1,250 miles to Wisconsin, stayed there for 24 hours and turned around and came back.
I don't know too many people who would drive from Worcester, Mass to Wisconsin Dells with their 2 grandchildren so that they could spend the day at the water park, which is a phenomenal water park,
Right.
and then turn around and drive home to Worcester, Mass. That would probably get you Grandfather of the Year award.
Right. It would also get me Crazy Man of the Year award, considering there is that same water park is in the Poconos, and another third one is in Sandusky, Ohio, which we stopped in on the day before we went.
So you went through Pennsylvania and through Ohio, passed up on what's the name of it? Kalahari.
Kalahari.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, all right.
The only thing we need to say, Bob, is Walter's wife Donna got hacked.
Yes,
online.
I was one of those that took them off too. As soon as I got that invite, I said, and it was a technical issue, and she was asking me for help. So that was my tip off, because I knew she would ask Walter for help.
Right.
And he's and Ron, I know you can hear us, but Walter is a real engineer. Steve Hogan, Good Sam down in Rhode Island, no longer Good Sam. They now have the roadie campers.
Well, we might have a contest brewing here tonight, because
Why?
I don't know if Walter's spreadsheet, with the RV Life app is still going on, whether he's taking that trip or not. But Walter and Ron could be brothers from other mothers.
You froze up
because they are.
You can't hear me. You froze up. Now you're free again, I think. Say something.
Me? Something?
Yep, you frozen up. All right. Well,
let's bring our guests on.
Let's bring our guest on.
All the way from Middlebury.
All the way from an Atlanta, Georgia suburb. Ron Rose, welcome to RVing in New England. This may be the highlight of your life, even though you just came back 9.5-week RV trip. This is a hell of a way to end the trip, now that I think of it.
Yeah, we're glad to be home. We're glad to have a home. We can't wait to get back on the road, though. It's kind of a conundrum. Good to be home. Good to plan another trip.
Wait. Don't use important words like conundrum, because none of us know what the hell you mean. Okay? If you want to say it's a challenge or something, that's fine. But conundrum, that is well above our pay raise.
I just looked it up. I just grabbed my phone and looked it up. I didn't know what it meant either. So.
Now, Bob, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were doing our sound checks before going live, which I understand took you three attempts, Rose was in the background, quiet.
Rose was always in the background, right? Then they go
look who has taken over the major.
They go off camera for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden Rose is in the top spot, and Ron's in the background.
We had to figure out where the camera is. I thought it was up here, but it's actually over here. So that's why we're like, how come it's doing that? Now we know.
Yeah, and you sold document imaging. So you can't tell where the camera is.
Document imaging and computer systems. Right.
So, Bob, why don't you tell us how you know this lovely couple, and that will let our audience know why somebody from the greater Atlanta area is able to make it to the national airwaves on RVing in New England.
Well, that's true. Ron was a business partner when I owned a document imaging company in New England. We sold Minolta microfilm and digital scanning systems, and eventually down the road, Minolta was acquired by Konica, and they changed the name to Konica Minolta. And my rep in New England was a fellow named George Morris, who might join us tonight. He lives in Pennsylvania. And Ron was the equivalent down in the southeast part of the United States.
The equivalent.
We would meet them at, I know, another big word. We're really challenging you tonight, DePietro.
How about counterpart?
No, we can do that.
Better than equivalent.
And we had many and many meetings and what have you. And he was the consummate professional in the field. He was probably at the top of the list as far as the Minolta reps. And we always had good relationships with everybody at Minolta, including our good friend Tad Jayco, the president at the time, who established the absolute best dealer network in our industry, bar none. Ron, you want to add anything to that?
That was the best. in all of my career, that was the best company I ever worked for. They treated you like family members, and they treated you being the employees and the business partners, such as your company. Everybody was treated like they were family, and there was no backstabbing. There was no shenanigans. It was all what's in the best interest of the relationship. It was really a tremendous place to work for.
Well, it must be different down south, because if you're treated like family in New England, there's a lot of jealousy and backstabbing.
Well, yeah, and if they treat you like family in New England, you have to sit with your back to the wall.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you can see who's coming.
So I understand that you've been RVing for 6 or 7 years, and just did an epic 9.5 weeks. Ron, I know you know the miles. What's the exact miles to the 10th, and how much dollars and cents include to the penny did you spend on tolls?
7,340 miles. But at one point we actually had to rent a vehicle because ours was not able to be disconnected. We'll talk about that. But there was an issue with the connectivity between the truck and the fifth wheel. But so 7,350-ish miles cost me $1,858 in gasoline, which isn't bad considering.
It's not bad at all.
Now, the reason we asked that question, that John asked that question as we were preparing for the show, I explained to John that Ron is probably one of the most detailed persons that you would meet. His house looks like it belongs on HGTV. His unit, see this unit? Before he left, this is his current unit, the truck and the Jayco Eagle fifth wheel. He washed them and waxed them by hand.
But Bob, go back to that picture. Go back to that picture. Not only did he wash the truck and the trailer, he washed the whole damn parking lot.
You're right. How many other people would do that? Well, that's because when he was pulling away, he didn't want to get any of that dirt and mud back up on the earth. But this next picture is for Walter Swenson, because it applies to people.
I got a feeling I know what it is.
It applies to people like Walter and like Ron, who insist that everything be in the right place and look the right way. This is his spreadsheet from the time he started until the time he finished, where he was going to be, how many miles a day he was going to do it, where he was going to stay. He didn't vary from it. He left a couple of nights. So explain your thought process in preparing the sheet.
If there is.
No, it's just whatever. Anyway, so there was a thought process. We had to figure out where are the big places we're going to go. We learned this. We watched a lot of YouTube. We learned that you have to secure the anchor points. At the major national parks, definitely have to have a reservation there. Along the way, we were a little bit more fluid, I guess. There's many places on that spreadsheet that weren't filled in. Of course, it's all filled in now because we're done, but there were places where I just left it blank. We had to find a place. And one of the places we found was to stay at in a parking lot in Sioux City, Iowa, or wherever it was, Sioux City is. I get confused. But anyway, we stayed at the parking lot, and it worked out to be really wonderful because in that particular case, we had a series of thunderstorms coming through and even tornado warnings, and we were scared to death. But the beautiful thing was we actually were able to stay in, as you can see in that photograph on the right. They had a vacant parking deck that had a 14-foot tall ceiling. I'm like, wow, guess where I'm parking my rig?
You're a lucky man.
I'm telling you, we were taken care of all along the way. God was watching out for us. So we stayed there. And during that night, there were sirens going off with tornado warnings. We went into the stairwell to be extra protected. I would have been just terrified if I would have been out in the parking lot. So that really worked out wonderfully.
You even were able to put your slides out.
Yeah.
It was at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Hard Rock Cafe in Sioux City, but there was nobody using the parking lot.
Right.
They were rebuilding the other side, so it wasn't even in use. So it was very good.
Now for our loyal fans, and we could not do this show without them. When Ron first told me about that story, in fact, I saw it on his Facebook page. I said, for all the shows that we've done, for all the RVing that John and I have done collectively, I never heard of anybody doing that. So to Walter, to Jerry, have you guys done this to Steve Hogan? He's on the road a lot. Dante's on the road. Gerber spent a couple of years writing RV Daily Report from his Winnebago motorhome. Estelle's been on the road. Jim Conboy's been on the road. But have any of you actually had a situation like that where you ran into bad weather and thought, why don't I just park in the casino garage or some other garage? I don't know. But let's see. Jerry says, here we go. I knew Jerry would have something. I had to go look at our RV Trip Wizard for our last big adventure. It was just under 6,000 miles. So, people do travel. Ron, why don't you get Rose? Let's switch over to Rose here. Why don't you give us a little history of, you've been married 6-7 years there soon, but you've had 3 RVs. Mm-hmm. So walk us through the 3 RVs and what got you to the point where you have the fifth wheel now.
Well, the first one was Lance. It was 27 feet.
It was the 1995 model.
Right.
So it was about 26 feet, something like that.
And he's tall, so he said, well, the couch's not big enough, huh? So we upgrade to one with a couch in there. It only had the dinette and the bed, and so he wanted a big couch. So we tried. We bought the 1985.
The 2285.
2285.
Again, another Lance, right?
Yes.
Another Lance.
Yes. And
well, part of it was the tow vehicle. So we started out with an Acura MDX,
right.
And it's supposed to be able to tow 5,000 pounds, which it could. It had plenty of power, but we're towing our 1995 Lance with that Acura MDX, and I was like, it's just too much trailer.
It was borderline.
It was just over the borderline. I was like, I don't feel safe enough. So then we upgraded to a Toyota Tundra. Well, then of course I had to get a bigger, better trailer.
Push. You tow more, so you buy more.
That's right. So we got the 2285, and we really enjoyed that. And we've been so we're like 3-4 years into our RVing, and we loved the quality of the Lance, mm-hmm. But we wanted something that had more room in it, and we started shopping around. And we would just go to RV dealerships, just looking at RVs, or to the shows, and just really, as you know, I'm detail oriented, so I wanted to make sure if we're going to buy another one, it had to really check off a lot of boxes, including
Ron, did
quality.
you have a notepad? Did you have a notepad too? And
no, it's all up in the noodle.
All there. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? You brought up the.
You didn't do a spreadsheet on the model,
surprisingly,
the manufacturer, the model name, the model number, the floor plan. You didn't spread that all across with the pros and cons?
No, but we did call Bob Zagami and say, hey, Bob, we're looking at this Jayco, and I don't know anything about Jayco. And tell me what you know, because I want to make sure I'm getting the same level of quality. And he told us straight out, Bontrager sold off to Thor. They had a couple issues, but guess what? Thor said, hey, we're hearing bad things from the reps. We want to bring you back into the company and have you make it a better company again. And they did. And it's a great product. We love it. Everything about it. We just really. It's a floor plan that was their model of 2018. It was like the floor plan of the year. It's called the 30.5 MLOK. They made it for 2 years and they discontinued it because that's how RV manufacturers do. If they don't sell enough, they discontinue it. I think it's the best floor plan I've ever seen. That's why we love it so much.
Now, Rose, you wanted that floor plan because of the rear kitchen, right?
The kitchen, the outside TV, the fridge outside.
But you do a lot of home cooking in your RV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
It should be pointed out that on this 9.5-week trip, what did you do? 3 nights in a restaurant. The rest was all home cooking.
Exactly.
Yeah, and those weren't even nice. Those were just lunches because we were out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question here, or not ask you a question.
Can you hold that 1 second? Let's finish
Sure.
up on the outside casino.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Take it.
So basically, as I mentioned to you before we went on the air, our audience is very involved in the show, and we ask them questions and they answer them, and they're not shy about answering. And Bob had asked a question about, hey, did any of you guys ever have an opportunity to go into a shelter, like at the one that you did? The reality is, at least in New England, those parking garages, they're not made for anything over 7 feet tall.
I've never seen anything like this. I was flabbergasted. 14.2 feet tall. I was like, I guess where I'm parking my RV. And I called the front desk of the Hard Rock Cafe, Hard Rock Casino. I said, hey, can I park in there? I said, sure. It's not even being used. So that was cool.
Yeah. Okay. So Walter says, never had the advantage to be able to park inside, but we did have some bad weather in South Dakota, but just pulled the slides in and had our bag out bags.
Yeah.
Bug out bags.
Bug out bags.
Yeah. What are they, Walter? And then Jerry said he stopped under an overpass in a hailstorm. Steve said we had to get off the road in New Mexico for a snowstorm. Well, Steve, that must be another story. Good thing they didn't ask me about Jayco. I guess Steve probably had a bad experience with Jayco. Tony said, I'm late. Sorry, Tony. And Jonathan Schlew.
Tony, it's one thing to be late. It's another thing to apologize. We might have to cut you off there. And then we get a side conversation going with Jonathan, who says, hey, Tony.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, Estelle gets back on schedule, though. We stayed in ours during Hurricane Matthew in Charlotte, North Carolina at the campground. And Jonathan, hi, guys, from Car Generator, just saw your live broadcast. Hey, Jonathan, today must be your lucky day. Can you see that, Jonathan? Sitting right on my desk, right next to me. Jonathan has a Car Generator. I hope the product is going well. I think I had that upside down. But there's your card, Jonathan. We met Jonathan. Where did we meet him? RVX? I think RVX. We showed him that. Give us an update. I know. Was it Tony that was going to be doing some testing or writing about it for you? Something
that was Hershey.
Hershey, right? Something you might want to look into, Ron. It's. I don't have the size of it, but it's a very small portable generator, literally, that looks like a booster, an RV booster plug on that. So good luck with that. And are you going to be?
Send me one, and we'll use it and talk about it.
Right.
1,000 pounds, backpack size. Send me one. Hey, wait a minute. No. We did a video with him. I haven't played it yet because I haven't edited it. We did the video right, Jonathan? We did the video in the stands in Hershey. And then we did another part of it over at the restaurant that RV Life was hosting us at.
Right. We came to the RV Life party. Right?
Okay.
Hang on. Here's a pic. Okay. All right. Well, let's get back to the world traffic.
Like taking over our show, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Ron and Rose.
Just want to say hello. What?
Give us the approximate route.
Well, I can do that. Boom. Talk about your travel planning and the route.
So we were going from Atlanta. My sister wanted to meet us at Mammoth Caves in Kentucky. So that was our first stop. And then we wanted to go to a place where a friend of ours recommended over in the east by Paducah, Kentucky, for some mountain biking trail. So we stopped there. Then I wanted to go see the sights. So what's the next stop? St. Louis to see the arch. And then,
did you go up it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was neat.
Weren't you claustrophobic in it?
No, but I'll tell you, at the tippy top, I was in there years ago with a Minolta trip, but in the tippy top, when you're inside and looking down, I mean, it's almost scary to look straight down because you're so high off the ground.
Right, the way they're angled. Yep.
I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
It's quite an engineering feat to be able to make that contraption because it kind of moves like this as it's going up, and it always keeps you in the right orientation.
You took some toys along with you. Explain what you had here.
Well, I'm a planner, right? So I wanted to be ready.
Are you really? Oh.
Well, I wanted to be ready for any situation.
You probably did research on the tie downs that you have around the gas tanks.
I did that. Well, I had to practice. Can I take them out if I needed them with the fifth wheel connected? Could I actually access them? So that's where I did practice that several times. So yeah, okay. And those are NATO quality Wavian gas tanks, so they won't leak, they don't stink. And we were going to stay at Grovant over there in the Grand Tetons, and that's a no water, no hookup, no nothing, no electricity site. So I needed to have our blue tote to be able to empty the tanks, because we don't have big tanks in our unit. I needed our power generator. It's a propane generator, so I had that there. We have to take our mountain bikes wherever we go, so we have a really good mountain bike or a really good quality hitch for the back, and that's one of the reasons I like the Jayco. It had a full 2-inch receiver that actually has a plug-in for lights, so we have brake lights underneath the tires there, so
Nice.
people can see us.
Electric bikes? They're not electric, are they?
No. So
no.
one of the cool things we did was ride our bikes up to Going to the Sun Road, and I'll tell more about that aspect of it. But we're riding up to Going to the Sun Road because it was closed off to cars.
Explain where the Sun Road is, Ron.
That's in Glacier National Park. That's like the road. That's the road to go see Glacier National Park, and it was closed to cars. And so we rode our bikes there. 98% of everybody else on that road had e-bikes. The other 2% had road bikes, and we have road bikes as well. But road bikes weigh 17, 18 pounds. Our mountain bikes weigh 34 pounds each. So it was quite an endeavor to pedal up 13 miles up that Going to the Sun Road. But it was the most breathtaking experience I've ever had. It was spectacular.
It's a lot nicer pedaling an e-bike up that hill.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I don't think I want to drive my truck up that road. It's so narrow, and you've got like a 1-foot brick thing that keeps you from falling off the edge, and the edge is like 1,000 feet straight down.
Oy.
Did people actually take RVs up there?
No, but you can't. You have to take.
Oh, okay. So that's not a drivable road. Okay.
It's a drivable road, but you have to have a short vehicle. You can't have a vehicle over 19 feet long, which my truck is just barely meets that criteria.
Well,
So
stay on the bikes for a little bit. Explain your lifestyle, your healthy lifestyle, because people think, well, they get over 60 years old, they just want to sit in the rocking chair around the campfire, and that's not your style. So explain.
So when I met Rose 15-ish years ago, she was an avid road cyclist. So I bought a bicycle and became and started cycling. And I think I was 56 at the time. And then people are on their iPhones or whatever. They're not paying attention. So I don't like riding on the roads anymore. It's too scary. So 10 years ago, when I was 62, we started mountain biking. So we've been doing that for 10 years now, and that our lifestyle is we're camping, we're mountain biking, we're skiing, and just living life as much as we can. Hiking.
Yeah. You hike, right?
Yeah.
Life is like a marathon. It's not like a sprint. You have to really pace yourself and take care of yourself every day. That's my philosophy.
I agree. I subscribe to that and wholeheartedly.
Yeah, that's why he has 3 Jack Daniels every day.
Well, you got to keep the blood flowing,
Wait a minute, it's lasted me 79 years. I mean, I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Steve Hogan says, did you run into any wildfires? And Jerry Jerry said we were heading for Glacier on the last big adventure, but it caught fire a week before we got there.
Ouch.
We got to Williston North. Oh, Glacier caught fire. Williston, North Dakota, and turned left.
So there were fires, Canada's on fire, right? So there was lots of smoke. And as an example, when we got to Mount Rushmore, the day we got there, we couldn't see past our nose because it was so smoky. And I was kind of bummed out thinking, well, we're going to go see Mount Rushmore tomorrow. We won't be able to I'm a photographer. I love taking, quality pictures. And I was looking forward to taking some great quality pictures of Mount Rushmore. Guess what? The smoke cleared the next day, and we had spectacular sunshine, sky blue skies. It was beautiful. But yeah, we had lots of smoke.
First day, you couldn't even see Mount Rushmore?
Not really. It was just totally engulfed in smoke, and then the next day it was just crystal clear, just unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, we were blessed every day. I mean, everything that seemed like a challenge just kind of cleared itself up. It was amazing. It was an amazing trip.
So challenges. You mentioned there was a situation where you had to get another vehicle. what's the craziest thing that happened that you never thought would happen? And then what was the best thing that happened that you never thought would happen?
Talk about the crazy thing on the left.
So so when we started out on the trip, the leveling jacks were kind of acting up. The one on the left, jacks, the left one would retract on the right one. I was like, that's not right. So I contacted LCI Lippert because they make the jacks. This wasn't a Jayco issue. This is just, a Lippert issue. I am here to tell you, Lippert customer support is the best I've ever experienced in any business ever. They took such great care of us. They walked us through, well, try this, try that, try this. That didn't work. We're going to send you a new controller board, the brains of the unit. And all you got to do is install it. And that's just a matter of unplug this, plug that in. So we got the board sent to us. And then I'm inside the unit and they're walking me through, well, what do I do now to home the leveling jacks? Well, you got to do this, this, and this. So I'm inside the unit, which I never am inside my unit when I'm adjusting the jacks. I'm always outside, pushing the buttons. I'm inside the unit. He says, do this, do that. All of a sudden the trailer goes and falls like 3 inches to the left because the left jack broke. It just gave out. Scared the bejesus out of me. I'm telling you, I'm inside this thing and my trailer's ready to fall over on one leg.
Oh,
Freaked me out. So then we learned how to call a mobile mechanic to come out there and help us figure out how we can get this thing back on my truck because it was disconnected from the truck. So a mobile mechanic came out and we used bottle jacks and wood blocks and we jacked it up and got reconnected to the truck. Then I called Lippert and here's what they did. They sent me 2 brand new levelers, the 2 front leveling jacks for free. That's customer service to the nth degree. The challenge was they said, where do you want them sent to? I said, okay, I want them sent to our next location. So the next day, and they're going to be sent overnight, next day air. So being the anal kind of guy that I am, I'm driving to the next location. I'm not seeing any email with a tracking number. So I called Lippert. I said, I'm just concerned because I haven't seen a tracking number yet and they're supposed to arrive tomorrow. Well, they're not in stock. So it's going to take 5 days to build them. I'm like, oh no, where are we going to be in 5 days? Well, it's going to take 5 days to build them. Maybe it might take longer. And then, so I gave them a whole new address. Where we're going to be in 5 days. Actually like a week and a half later. And then the next morning I get an email. They were shipped. I'm like, oh no, I changed the address to go into another location. So we called Lippert again and they said, don't worry, we'll call UPS and we'll get it changed. Well, then UPS says, well, that's a pretty expensive thing we're sending, that you all are sending. It's going to cost you $450 to change the address. So we said, never mind, ship it out to our location 2 weeks from now or whatever we're going to be there. So it was a fiasco. So that was a challenge. But it worked out great because we get to Glacier National Park. We said, we're not going to ruin our trip. We rented a vehicle. So we rented a Toyota 4Runner, and we used that to drive around Glacier National Park. So, at first it's like the trip's ruined. Then again, we'll figure it out. It's only money. Rent a car. Everything's fine. And it was a great experience.
But
did you run into any health issues out there? Because the last 5 trips that we've taken have, in one way or another, ended up at an urgent care or an ER. How have you fared?
No, we were blessed. Every day was great. We had no health issues. I got to tell you, the last day at the end of the trip when we were in Rocky Mountain, we're riding up this dirt road, and on the way down we were freezing. And it was late in the day. We're going down this mountain road with 20% grades, which is like straight down. Anyway,
20%. Wow.
I tell you, it was hard to pedal up that. It was hard to pedal up that 20%. I'm telling you right now. But anyway, we're going down. We're freezing to death. The next day, we're shopping at a Safeway store, a grocery store, with 10,000 tourists. I caught a cold. And so that was the end of the trip. That's my only health issue. I caught a cold at the end of the trip, but that's fine.
Cool.
A little bit of snow there.
A little bit of snow. So, part of the planning is, well, we're going to go 12,000 feet up in the air. It might be cold there.
So let's pack up a jacket
We had our
hiking shoes, and we're gonna hike. And we go up there. We see people with little flip flops and t-shirts and shorts walking in the snow.
Critical thinking has left the building. I'm telling you.
Well, let's talk about that. We talked a little bit before the show. One of the things that I like about the whole trip is because you are conscientious about the details of the trip. You're not the average consumer. And we have issues in the industry with a lot of people complaining about service. And there's no question service is an issue in technicians. But if people, there's a responsibility to RVers for understanding the investment that they purchased, reading the books, do that critical thinking about how to get around and resolve problems. You did that throughout the trip. What message do you have for other RVers who may be looking at this saying, well, I want to do exactly what Ron and Rose did, but what should consumers understand their role is in enjoying the RV lifestyle? So
before we set off on the trip, this is our third year owning this particular fifth wheel. I said, we're going to go up, and I didn't know what we're going to get into. I remember on a Minolta trip, Bob, you were probably there, but anyway, we're in Lake Tahoe in June. It snowed so hard in June in Lake Tahoe, they closed the pass. We couldn't even go into town, which we were planning to do. So I was worried we're going to get up into near Glacier, up in north, up to the Canadian border, and it might just freaking snow. And I wanted my rig to be ready for it. So I put bigger tires. I invested in bigger tires they're not RV, they're not ST type tires. They're not specialty tires for trailers. They're actual commercial grade truck tires that have real tread on them, made by Michelin. I put new shock absorbers on. So my point here is, I bolstered the system, the rig, to be able to handle the worst case situations that we might get into, just in case. And you have to think about these things. You have to make sure your unit is in good repair for such a trip, and that you're able to fix things by yourself. You do have to be handy. I mean, I'm not saying, no, I'm Mr. Handyman, but you have to be able to think through. We had in one trip before this one, just before this one, we're sitting in a Love's RV park, because Love's really has done some neat things by making these RV parks. So we're sitting in a Love's, and I fire up the hot water heater, otherwise known as the water heater. There's a controversy whether you call it a hot water heater or a water heater. But anyway, I turn on the water heater. We're sitting in the unit. All of a sudden, boom! The whole thing shakes. Like, what the hell? How could a tree fall on us where there's no trees around? The PEX plumbing on that water heater exploded, and water was spewing everywhere. So I had to figure out how to become a PEX plumber. And so when we got home, I re-engineered that whole thing, and I put in new metal pieces where they were plastic. I learned how to do a PEX crimp tool. And you have to be handy is the whole point. You have to be able to figure things out, and don't just say, it's the manufacturer's fault. Things break, and you got to be able to be flexible enough to deal with that. That's the deal.
Hey guys,
this is you replacing the brakes.
This is me putting on new heavy duty shackles. It came with wet shackles, but I wanted the more right heavy duty ones. So we replaced the shackles. I put on new shock absorbers, more heavy duty shock absorbers, because I put on heavier, bigger tires. I just wanted to make sure that I had enough technology to support all this.
Now, you had mentioned Love's just a moment ago, and I had an opportunity to stop at one just outside of Cleveland. Yeah. And I saw the sign, RV hookups here. Yeah, yeah. Had 7 or 8 of them, brand new. Brand new. Mm-hmm. When I went in the store to get gas, I never ran into people that were more friendly and polite in an immaculate store, because you have to admit that there are some truck stop places that do not welcome RVers. and they're filthy. The coffee is terrible. How did you find Love's to be when you compare it to the other big chains?
This was so this particular Love's was in Cordell, Georgia, and it's a complete separate. Across the street's the Love's truck stop.
Oh,
that's where the trucks stop.
Never
Across the street, it's right across the street, and it's an actual RV facility. It's a non-person thing. You check in online.
yeah.
They give you a code to go through the front gate, so it's got a gate, so it's a gated community.
Pretty neat.
They're all every they had different levels of quality.
Oh, I didn't know
pull
that.
throughs. They have.
They're all full hookup, but you had some had a gazebo with a
How many sites do you think?
I think 30 to 50 in that range.
Yeah, 50.
Totally automated.
Totally automated.
That's
And you
pretty
pull
cool.
in, you connect up, you say you go back online, you say you're checking, and then they turn on the electricity for you automatically. And it has a shower and a bathroom if you want to, if you don't have your own setup. But I loved it. I'll use them because it was just so convenient.
Hey, Ron, you know how some shows do the 30-second quiz? Believe it or not, we're 3/4 of the way through. So I'm going to run through a series of some of the photos that you sent me.
Okay.
Do 1 or 2 minutes on what they were and why it was important or why you liked them, okay?
All right. So as you've mentioned in the intro, so when I was 8 years old, my grandfather was quite the photographer, and he gave me a Kodak box camera, and I really got into photography at that point. And then I worked for Minolta for 13 years. I've always had top of the line cameras, and I enjoy photography. And photography, it's not just not just the technology. It's what you have to know what you're going to shoot, right? So I had in my mind, I wanted to see certain things, and Rose had the same thought as far as the wildlife. This is just some of the wildlife that we saw. Now that damn Mercedes photobombed me. I was like just ready to click the shutter, and that damn Mercedes pulled in behind me. What a perfect picture would have been without that Mercedes there.
Well, you'll have to do a little photoshopping on it now.
Yeah.
Now, was you one of the stupid people that get out of their car and try to pet the bisons? I
know. I mean, we had a whole herd go right past us, and and sometimes they get riled up because they're wild animals, right? This was a big bull, and we talked to some of the park rangers. I said, how come sometimes these big male bulls are all by themselves? He goes, they're getting old. They're sick and tired of all the camaraderie, having to deal with the women and fighting the other bulls to see who's going to be the dominant alpha bull, and they just go off by themselves. And that's what this guy was doing. He's just off by himself. But how majestic of an animal is that? The American bison is a spectacular looking creature.
It's really amazing. What you got here?
So anyway,
yes,
I think it's important for as a couple for both the husband and wife to be able to drive the rig. Now, I'm not saying Rose is going to back it into a back end site and park it, but she's getting there and building her confidence, and I appreciate that because sometimes I'm just tired and need a break. So Rose is a good driver. We went to the Badlands, and that ladder thing. This thing is straight up. And it's on a ladder, and that thing's wiggling all over the place. It was quite an adventure to go up to the top of that ladder and then walk around the Badlands. And then we went into Kansas and met.
So Rose went up ahead of you.
Yeah, so she took that picture.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to do it. I said, you better do it.
Yeah, Rose is really adventurous. I mean, she basically convinces me to do things that maybe I wouldn't do by myself. She's quite an adventurous lady. Yeah.
Ron, any particular reason you describe those photos right to left instead of what most normal people do in left to right?
Yeah, because he's detailed and anal. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was attracted to the beautiful woman on the right. That's all I can
Okay. Go ahead.
And you stopped to see Dorothy?
We saw Dorothy. So I'll tell you, the guy there at the Welcome Center, he was just so talkative and so friendly. It was really, we just stopped for just a quick, stretch our legs break, and he gave us coffee and cookies, and just was a wonderful, nice guy. And he said, you got to come back to Kansas. I'll tell you one thing. the quality of the highway in Kansas was just spectacular compared to Colorado. Colorado, for example, roads is pressing the wrong, but it had terrible roads. Kansas was just, the road was great, smooth as silk. I think President Eisenhower would be proud of his home state of Kansas because he invented the.
Oh, not in Pennsylvania or Massachusetts.
Oh, I know that. We did that last year. So
did you add extra solar, or was this on the unit?
So when we bought this unit, I fell in love with Rose fell in love with, and we both did, with the floor plan. And then, it had everything I wanted. They discontinued that model, so I couldn't order a new one. So it had everything I wanted. They had one solar panel, but I wanted to upgrade it, and so I added the second solar panel. I wanted to upgrade the lithium-ion battery, so I bought some Battle-Born batteries. And to have it work, I had to upgrade the Go Power solar charger to be able to handle lithium-ion. And I also put in a 2,000 watt inverter, but I did it kind of a unique way, I guess I'll call it. As you can see on that on the leftmost picture, the yellow cord's plugged into a 30 amp outlet. So the way I did it was I put in a 2,000 watt inverter with 200 amp hours of lithium battery, and I plug it into the side where the shore power goes, so everything's hot. We can run everything in the RV off of our batteries except for the air conditioner. By the way that I wired it up that way.
Interesting. We saw that one before. That was Mount Rushmore on the sunny day, right?
Sunny day.
Yeah, it was.
And then on the left side is that Glacier or is that Rocky Mountain? I think that's Rocky Mountain. That's Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, because we were 12,000 feet. It was cold.
Wow.
And
I love the pic. Actually, I love both of those pictures, but the one on the left is true Americana.
Well, that particular barn is like, that's the photo that you want to get at Grand Tetons. Now, that being said, I was there the wrong time of day because the sun settles in the west. Well, the sun was behind the barn, so it's more of a silhouette versus in the morning. But that's when we were there, and that's when I took the picture. So it's as good as I could get from a sunlight perspective. But the one on the right, that waterfalls, that's the lower falls at Yosemite, at Yellowstone. The amount of water they've had with the snowpack runoff created a spectacular waterfall. That was just, that once again is one of those iconic photos you want to take when you go to Yellowstone.
John, let's catch up on some comments here as we've got about 7 minutes left, and I got a miscellaneous slide, but who's saying what over on the right-hand side?
Tony brought up the fact that they're creating a nice opportunity for people at Love's with a polite, friendly. The family that owns Love's has really created a place that supports friendly and polite team members. And I had a situation when I went in, I was trying to get the discount card, and it didn't work. On the app, it gives you 10 cents off a gallon.
Right.
And it didn't work on the card. She said, "I'm so sorry. Our scanners are not working on the pump. Let me take care of you here." And I said, "Thank you very much." She said, "How much do you want to put on?" I said, "Put $40 on." And she said, "Anything that you don't spend will come off the card." So anyway, Estelle said they stay at Cracker Barrel and love it. I think a lot of people are in that boat. Liberal Kansas, Jerry, that must have been where we're referring to. Love bugs in Kansas can be bad.
This is interesting from Steve. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
Is that, Steve, about all Cracker Barrels that they let you disconnect? A really good place to do. Are we keeping you up to Pedro?
Yes. It's my first night at home.
It's my first night at home. Well, the RV Hall of Fame is a Harvest Host location, and I'm sure they'd let you do it there too.
Yeah.
Jerry Flint putting a little politics into the mix. Charlie Butler.
Yeah. No, I don't think. No, Liberal Kansas is a city.
Oh, it's a city.
Yeah. Tony says, plus you can get free coffee and fuel discounts. Gorgeous photo. Steve Hogan said no to your question, Bob. What was it? All
Cracker Barrels.
Cracker Barrels. I think it depends on the amount of space that's in there, because we've been to some of them that have tons of space, and some are, it depends on the manager.
Yeah. So Charles, if you really want to see love bugs, you got to come to Florida, because it rains love bugs. Years ago on our honeymoon, like 55 years ago, we went down to Florida, and we went through Kissimmee, and I had a yellow convertible, and I was getting gas, and all of a sudden I thought it was raining.
Disney hadn't been built yet.
It was raining bugs. I almost had to take my wife to the hospital. She was so terrified.
Those love bugs, they don't come off. They stick like glue.
Oh, man, terrible. Yeah.
Hey, what was the coolest thing? Because we only got a couple minutes left. What was the coolest, the best unexpected thing?
So as Bob said to begin with, I wash and wax my RV, and I've got a white truck. And we're driving up to on the right side of the lake, going up to Glacier National Park on Montana Highway 20. I turn right, and about 2 miles into it, the sign says pavement ends in 2 miles. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, the pavement didn't just end. It was pure mud. I'm talking up to halfway up to your knees mud. I'm driving my truck and my rig through mud for like 10 miles. I was throwing up in my mouth. I was so sick to my stomach about this thing. I'm telling you, it was
the worst thing that can happen
for him. So we get there, and our rig still broke, and I can't wash it. Blah blah blah. So I just said, the hell with it. I'm leaving it dirty till we get home. So the best thing that happened on the trip was
it rained.
Rain would not take this mud off at all, ever.
It was caked.
It was caked on. But I remember watching, Keep Your Daydream on YouTube, and they said they went to a truck wash, and I said to Rose, let's go to this blue ox. Is that what it was called? Blue something. Let's go to this truck wash. And Rose said, no, I don't want to. We're not doing that.
No, let's not waste any time.
Let's not waste any time. Well, she thought it was one of the where you go through a car wash where the scrubbers are cleaning your vehicle, right?
Yep.
That's not what it is. This is the most professional situation I've ever seen. We pull into the place, and they have 10 or 12 guys inside this building, and they clean my truck and my trailer like nobody's business. And they rinse the whole thing with Rain-X. It was clean as a whistle for $37. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
30.
Yeah. You gotta let me know the name so we can post that afterwards.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Blue something
truck wash.
Are they? I mean, was it just unique to that area, or is it?
No, they're across the country.
Really?
That's what they
$27.
Blue Beacon. Dwayne Cyrus is here from Winnebago. Blue Beacon.
Blue Beacon.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Cyrus.
Thank you, Dwayne.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, you want to say any nice things about your Jayco product?
So, why did I buy the Jayco?
Service,
Here's why I bought Rose will tell you why she wanted to buy the Jayco.
Well, you were drooling over the suspension and the CR3000. Well, not every one of them had the CR3000.
Rose, don't you understand? The guys by the outside, the women by the inside.
Correct. Yes. I like the kitchen.
Did he not understand that?
Here's why I bought the Jayco. The suspension, once again, we had two Lance travel trailers. They didn't use leaf springs. They used torsion bar suspension. And I was leery of leaf springs. I've heard all kinds of horror stories how the leaf spring, the hangers, they'll break and they'll fall off. The way that the Jayco was built was second to none at that time. The other companies have come up to quality a little bit, but they had the CRE Moride 3000. They had wet bolts built in. They had extra welds where the leaf springs connected to the frame. It was built like a tank, and they also had like a 5-point system of Moride. The pin box on this unit is called a Moride Orbital. They don't make it anymore. It doesn't pivot where a normal fifth wheel pivots. It pivots back 3 feet, and that allows me to have a short bed truck and have it pivot. I went down this road day before yesterday. And I was like, no outlet. I'm like, uh-oh, how do I get out of this jam? I was able to do a U-turn where you shouldn't be able to do a U-turn with my rig. I turned more than 90 degrees, no problem. That's why I bought the Jayco, because they took such great effort into designing the suspension and putting the right components on it to make it as useful. And any problems I've had with this unit weren't Jayco problems. The lipper thing failed. The PEX line blew up, big deal. Jayco, it's been rock solid. I really enjoyed this trailer.
We're running out of time, but I got another slide that I want to put up because these were from some notes that you had sent me. Explain each one.
So, I like to wash my truck and my trailers, and sometimes you can't use water. So the waterless system, you spray it on, you moisten all the dirt, and then you wipe it off, and it protects the paint, and that's how I do that. How do I find good cell service? So we use 2 hotspots. We use 3 actually. The wine guard on the roof is a 4G hotspot. It's got antennas up on the roof, so that's pretty cool. It's only 4G, so I have 2 5G hotspots. So the first thing I do when I get someplace is I pull up this application called Find Towers. It'll tell me who's closest to me. Is it AT&T? Is it T-Mobile? And then I'll zero in on who's the fastest one. That's what we're going to use, because we stream everything. We watch TV every place we go. We stream everything. And so I'll figure out who's got the fastest coverage. I got to tell you right now, T-Mobile blows the doors off of AT&T and Verizon as far as 5G. They are the king. I can get 300 megabits per second download out of a mobile hotspot. That's amazing. And then once again, we had these failures, and we learned about mobile techs. And if you find a good mobile tech, they're king of their domain, because they can fix anything if you find the right guy. And we found the right guy. He was able to replace those leveling jacks in the campground, and it was a challenge. I mean, we had to use some field engineering expertise to get it done, and he did it. So I'm a believer in that.
Good word for mobile techs. Absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I can't believe this time went by this fast.
We could do 4 hours. Ron and Rose, I can't thank you enough for coming on and telling the story, especially after being out on the road for 9.5 weeks. But you epitomize what the RVing lifestyle is, but also your own responsibilities and doing your homework, go out there. So you don't come home with a million horror stories. You come home with tremendous memories. John, I'll give you the word, and then we'll give Ron and Rose the last word.
Well, I'll just give my word to Rose if you want to say anything in French.
Oh, bonjour.
Oh, there you go.
Petro can do that.
There we go. That's good.
Hey.
And you know what? Great show, guys. Look it. RVs are great, but RVing is greater because the stories don't come from the hardware. They come from the people, the real live people that are in it. And thank you so much for sharing what you did. Everybody goes about their trip planning differently. And you guys are the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
I think winging it is people do that still, but I think it's become more and more difficult because there's so many people RVing. It's awful hard just to wing it and hope you can get a place. I think it's for me, I needed to have a secure reservation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good words of wisdom. All right. Thank you very much, folks. Ron, Rose, sincerely appreciate it. Great to see you. Good to catch up.
Thanks for having us.
See you guys. Have a great day. See you all next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.